What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Great Men with Shane Sams. I'm your host, Shane Sams, and I am super excited about today's guest. We've been trying to get this one together for a long time. Today's guest is Dr. Daniel Franz, a clinical psychologist with 25 years of experience. See, I have someone on today that actually knows what they're talking about, and he's built his practice around something most therapists won't touch. He talks a lot about Viktor Frankl's psychology of meaning, ketamine, and psychedelic assisted therapy. He helps men navigate the kind of suffering that doesn't fit neatly into a diagnosis. We're talking about existential crisis. We've all been there, guys. Loneliness inside of a marriage or a partnership. Self-medicating to help a life that looks fine on paper. Dr. Franz doesn't treat the symptoms. He helps men find meaning. And that's what we do here at Great Men. Dr. Franz, welcome to Great Men.
Shane, after that intro, it is so good to be here, man. I don't know. I think that's a wrap. You wrapped everything up for me beautifully.
Just cut that out. Take it wherever
Yep.
you go. You know what I'm saying? I give you
can't
full
wait
license. There's no copyright on that. That one's all for you, dude.
I cannot wait to expand on those ideas, man.
How did we originally get connected? I feel like been talking online and stuff for a long time. Like where I don't know how me and you got to, but we've been emailing each other for a while trying to figure this out, dude.
Man, that's a great point. I didn't even think of that, but yeah, I feel like we've known each other for a while, and I think finally it came to a point like, hey, we've got to record these conversations.
We got to
and here
hang
we
out,
are.
bro. Yeah, man, we got to talk, dude, because we're all on the same page. Let me kick off kind of with the origin of your journey. Like Viktor Frankl, for those of you who don't know, he was a survivor of the Nazi concentration camps. And of course, we know the stories of Auschwitz and all these places. And this is the most horrible situation that a human could ever be in. And many died, and most people were just mentally destroyed coming out of it. But he actually came out of it with a philosophy of meaning being the core of human survival. What's kind of the moment that you, as a therapist, because I find that a lot of therapists that I've worked with, they don't really get into Viktor Frankl, and we'll talk about some other guys. Where did that grab you personally? And like, how did you build your practice around it?
It's a great story, Shane. So, unfortunately, Frankel is not as widely studied here in the States as he is in Europe. And so we
Mm,
don't get a big education into him as we go through our studies. And I was sitting out on the back porch, smoking a cigar, reading
my
Man's
man.
Search for Meaning.
There we go.
And the reason, I think I was deep into World War II history at that point, right? I was watching Band of Brothers and reading about leadership in World War II. I said, I got to tie this into work somehow. And I picked up, and it's probably the third or fourth time I read Man's Search for Meaning. And it was the right moment at the right time. It grabbed me. So I got to go deeper into this. And, in my field, we have to do 20 hours of continuing education every year. And I'm not one to do just random studies. So I said, I want to learn more. If there's a certificate to be had, I'm going to get a certificate. And I wound up finding other authors, students of his. I connected with a bunch of them. And they said, we got a school here that you can actually attend. And there's one in Vienna, Austria, to which my wife said, no. And there's one down there. There's one down in Texas that I looked at. And Shane, by some kind of divine intervention, I found a school that offered a doctorate in logotherapy
Mm,
20 miles from my house. And if
wow.
there's, I didn't need many more signs to say, hey, you're going to go study here. And I did, and it was amazing. And I went from reading Man's Search for Meaning to right behind me, every one of his books, that at least the ones that are translated into English, and a lot of his students too. His belief was, I will get this started, but he wanted people to go on and expand on it. And that's what I've been doing for the past decade or so.
So you actually got your doctorate in this? Like that's what your doctorate's in, is logotherapy?
That is the reason I have the DR, is for Viktor Frankl. Yeah.
Wow. That was an expensive book.
It is paid off in droves, my friend.
No, I don't doubt it, man. I don't doubt it, dude. Real quick, what is logotherapy? Like why is it called that?
So logos, Greek for meaning, right? That comes
Mm,
right out of the Bible. At the beginning of
yeah.
the word is logos. And, for him, a lot of, all of his original writings were in German, and, that kind of fit. And so, a lot, we try not to lose much in translation. I mean, the fancy phrase for that is logotherapy and existential analysis. Now, I used to be able
Mm,
to say it in German, but I'm maybe going to try it here with you.
that's good.
So
I can
yeah,
barely speak English, man. I'm from Kentucky, so it's fine. It's fine.
I had a professor who was Austrian, man. I could listen to her read recipes. Her accent was so
Yeah.
beautiful. So, but yeah, logos, meaning, the psychology of
Interesting.
meaning and the analysis of existence.
Man, I was having an existential crisis at the end of 2023. That's
Mhm.
when my midlife moment really happened. And I'd been doing the work, since 2020. My wife and I, we had a place where we were like, I think there's something wrong inside of us. Like something's broken. Like there's a pattern. There are these things that keep happening. Like we've got to go internal. We got to figure this out. And that's when we really started our journey, which we'll unpack more as we get through some questions here. And I'm having an existential crisis, man. Like I was looking around at my life and I was like, this is the life I prayed for. This is the life I wanted to build. This is the life on paper. Everything was great. 2.2 cars, 2.2 kids, got the dogs, got the house, got the everything, successful, respected, just everything that everybody told me what to do. I had done to be happy, and something was just absolutely missing. And I went to a pretty dark place, man. I was in therapy every week, depressed. Found out it was some of the problems were my physical health. That was definitely
Mhm.
some of the
Sure.
issue back then, which we had already kind of started correcting with hormone replacement and peptides and all kinds of stuff. But I'm in this place where I'm just stuck. And I found another book. This is how I found Frankel. I found this. Well, it kind of went like this. The first one, I had a coach. I was like, therapy's not really. I feel like I'm just looping on the same crap every week. And then I had a executive coach, and she's asked me, "Have you ever heard of Parts Work by Richard Schwartz?"
Yep.
So
IFS.
yes, so I started doing IFS. That gave me a map of my inner world, and
Mhm.
I realized that there can be no peace without unless I'm in the war within. So I started doing parts work. As I got more into parts work, I started expanding out to like, well, what's all the other stuff I've not heard about? And I found this book. I walked into the bookstore one day. This kind of divine appointment, man. I walked into the bookstore, hadn't been in the bookstore in a year, didn't feel like reading. And I was like, I'm just gonna find a book. I walked straight to a bookshelf, and right there in front of me was this book called The Courage to Be Disliked.
Mm.
And the name really stuck out to me because I was like, everybody likes me. Maybe there's a problem here. You know what I'm saying? Like, maybe I should be disliked, but that's not really what the book's about. That's just kind of a catchy title. And this was a book. Have you ever heard of this book, The Courage
I
to Be
have
Disliked?
not.
Oh man, I'm gonna blow you right. So you got to read this book. It's go on
Mhm.
Spotify. If you got paid Spotify, it's free. You can listen to it. It's this book by this Japanese author, and it's written in the form of a Socratic dialogue. So it's a student who is coming to a philosopher, and then there's a narrator. All three people have different voices in the audiobook. So I get this book and I start reading it, and it starts saying things that nobody had said to me in therapy. It starts saying things as they're having this conversation. The philosopher who the kid is talking to, he's saying things like, there's no such thing as trauma. There's an event that influenced you, but there's a story you built in there, and that story is what's keeping you trapped. And he starts going through all these different things, like talking about how memory is not really even accurate. So why are you basing your whole future on these memories you have of the past? And like all these things, I'm like, oh, I was like, where did this book come from? This is incredible. No one's ever told me this. So I look it up, and this book is based on the work of Alfred Adler.
Mhm.
And Alfred Adler, of course, was a contemporary of Frankel. I think you said he was a student of Adler when we were off air a minute ago. So then I go into Man's Search for Meaning. And I was the same way. I read Man's Search for Meaning, but it didn't hit me then. I was like, no, I'm gonna stick with this Adler thing because I was in the process of unraveling the stories I had written about myself to get to the future where I could write a story that I actually wanted to write. But then I circle around, man, and I read Man's Search for Meaning again, and it's the same thing, dude. I was sitting on the back porch smoking a cigar, and I was like, man, we really are meaning machines. And all of this meaning I'm giving to these situations I'm having an existential crisis about, I'm the author of them. And like, I can't. I wish I'd found you 10 years ago when I started therapy, so I could have came to somebody that already knew this, and I could have probably bypassed a lot of stuff. Do you find that happens when the guys come in and like are working with you in therapy? They're like, "Whoa, this is way different than anything I've ever heard before."
Every day, man. Every day.
Mm,
And that's, as I heard you telling that story about, Socratic dialogue, I was like, That's what you needed, Shane, because that's what we train in as logotherapists. Is that's our main tool: Socratic
Yeah.
dialogue, asking questions, going back and
Yeah, unpack that for everybody that might not know what that is. Like, what is a Socratic dialogue?
yeah, it's this. I mean, comes from Socrates, right? It's the simple act of asking the right question at the right time, trying to go deeper to get to those whys and hows and self understanding. And too often, modern therapy. I've talked to a lot of us old timer therapists, and some of the newer therapists coming out aren't trained in these kinds of questions. They're trained more in a prescriptive style, like, "Hey, Shane, if you go do X, Y, and Z, you're going to feel better." And if that doesn't work, hey man, we've got a pill that's going to take care of it, but you only have to take it every day for the rest of your life,
Ugh.
which, spoiler alert, I might not agree with.
Yeah, I don't
Um,
either. I've been there. I've done that. Ain't
mhm,
ever going back to that.
yeah,
That is poison for your body. Some of that stuff,
yep.
man. The prescription and the therapy model is interesting too because I also think that we've gotten into, and I think that social media has destroyed this, but like the labeling,
Hmm.
everybody's everybody is what they are. It's so deterministic when you go to therapy. Like you go to therapy and they're like, oh, couples counseling, you're clearly an anxious attachment and you're clearly an avoidant attachment and you guys are just effed. That's what you are. And like it's like, oh, okay, I guess that's what I am. And then it's like, oh, clearly you have this mother wound or this father wound and that's just the way it is. You're just going to do that. You should go no contact with your parents because by the way, your parent, your mom's a narcissist. Your dad is a narcissist. Like, and I'm like,
Yes.
really? Because my mom and dad were kind of awesome and they fed me and clothed me and loved me and took care of me when I was sick. And, but like, that it's so like labeling now with this prescription therapy. And they don't even ask you questions. They ask you how you're feeling and then they tell you kind of why you're feeling that.
Oh,
And
shit.
I don't, and Instagram makes it worse, bro, because that's what all Instagram's big influencers now. They just latch on to one of these labels and they become an expert in it, and then everybody's this label, and that's just the way it is. And the only way you can avoid a trigger is just to not talk to humans, I guess.
Shane, you're killing me, man. My heart is pumping. I feel it all the frustration boiling up within me, man, because you're right. You're right. Frank would say it's reductionistic. And if anybody knows about being reduced to a number tattooed on your arm, it's somebody that spent 3 years in a German concentration camp,
Ooh, man, I
right?
felt that.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And we reduce ourselves, everybody, most people come into my office with their own predetermined labels. This, I'm that. The scariest thing for me, I've got middle school kids coming in with 14 and 15 labels. Heck, Shane, some of the labels I don't understand. I'm like, where did you get that? TikTok, Instagram, internet. I said, you know what? How about we leave that to the professionals? And
Mm-hmm.
professionally, I don't believe in labels. I hate having to diagnose. The only time I diagnose is if we have to use insurance benefits. And I'd
Yeah,
rather sit and ask questions and understand the whole person. I don't want to reduce you to a V code or to a
yeah,
label. I want to know who
yeah.
you are. I want to know about your experiences. I want to talk to you about you, not the label.
Dude,
Right.
I get it. We're going to talk about other medicines that do work here in a few minutes. But
Happy
like,
to talk about those.
yeah, man. I go to some of these retreats and journeys and things like this, and I know who I'm going to talk to the rest of the night immediately because I'll sit down and if somebody asks me, "Hey, what's your Enneagram?" I'm like, "Nope, I'm not talking to you. Nope, I'm not." "Hey, what's your sign?" No, I'm not going to talk about that either. "Hey, have you ever done your human design?" I'm like, "No, I'm designing my human right now as I go." Like all these crazy, I think that people can't wrap their head around certain things because there might be pain there. And it's so much easier to put it in a box. We do this with political parties. People want to do this with like God and the universe and religion. And we just want the box. Somebody tell me the box that I need to be in. But then you're a dude who gets in that box for 40 years and you look up and you're like, oh, I did not want to be in this box. Like
You're so
whatsoever,
right.
man.
You're
Yeah, man.
so right. And there's plenty of boxes out. There's more boxes than there ever were that you can subscribe to and put yourself in and wall yourself off. And that's why we have such an epidemic in mental health right now. So many
I,
unhealthy people.
epidemic. And it's just because they're doing the wrong things. I'd rather be a
Yeah.
meaning machine than something left in a box to just like deteriorate. Let's talk about meaning for a minute. Like,
Mhm.
this is an interesting thing for like guys. I think this is kind of a lie because like we're always taught to find your purpose, to accept your calling, and that calling is usually given to you by a parent or a pastor. Let's be honest. And we're taught like that. We're not taught that we're supposed to make meaning. And Frankel said that man can endure almost anything and make meaning out of it, like if he has a strong like why he's going through that. So like when you're in your clinic, what happens to the men who come to you and they've lost their why? They've lost that adventure, that pursuit of meaning. Like not his job, not his marriage. Like the guys I talk to, man, in the community, they got the marriage and they love their wife. They've got the kids and things are going okay. They're making money and they're getting by, but they're just lost. Like
Yeah.
what happens when those guys walk into your door? Like what do you talk to them about?
We start talking about discovering new meaning. And to your point earlier, we work so hard to have it all and to take care of our family. And 40 years down the line, we look at it and say, where am I? Who am I? Right?
Mm,
Frank, I love this quote. I'll botch it up, but I've got it pretty solid, man. Success, like happiness, cannot be pursued. It must ensue, and it ensues from
mm,
finding something to give you something meaningful to give yourself over to a person or a cause, right? And too often that cause is chasing to the dollar, chasing the 2.5 cars, making sure the 2.2 kids are doing what, having what they need and doing what they need. And he prescribes it for us. I love this, right? There are
mm,
three main ways he says we discover meaning. Our creativity, right? Playing the guitar, making art, doing work, right? Doing work that you like, man, that's meaningful. I'm helping somebody. And sometimes it's just working on the line, helping the guy next to you. But sometimes it's
yeah.
doing amazing things like helping men and creating podcasts, right? So creativity, experience, getting out there and enjoy. Man, the world is too beautiful to put yourself in a box and not go see the ocean, not go climb mountains, not go get on a bike and do something crazy like riding 100 miles, right? So our
Mm,
experiences are meaningful. And then our attitudes, right?
mm.
Hey, life is suffering. We will suffer. We will struggle. We don't always get to choose the circumstances. He certainly did not choose 3 years in a concentration camp, but he chose his attitude. And just like he did, we get to choose our attitude when life throws us curveballs, just like you
That's
did.
beautiful, dude. Yeah, man. Like meaning ensues.
Mhm.
That demands responsibility. Like just hearing those two words, man. Like it demands you to like to do something. Like, and I think that like I just did a post. I wrote an article on Substack the other day, kind of on motivation a little bit. Like what was because you hear that a lot. Like we see all the videos. Who's going to carry the boats? You know, all this crap. You know, whatever it is. And some of that's fun. I mean, it is good to juice yourself up a little bit and get in the environment a little bit. You know, and get a little juice. But like, what got me out of my depression, man. Well, one was ketamine. That was one thing that really helped. Two was testosterone because I fixed my hormone and my body actually had a chance. But I remember one day I opened my eyes. Like I woke up and like for months I'd been waking up with like anxiety. Like as soon as I opened it up, man, it was like my cortisol was just on fire, you know? And that morning, something, I was like, every morning I was like, oh, I'm just not motivated to do anything. I just don't want to do this. It's too much. And my brain power, I couldn't get into creativity because it was just too much rumination and stuff going on. But there was this one morning after 6 sessions of ketamine, actually, it was a week after my sixth session of ketamine. And I opened my eyes and I still felt the same way. Nothing had changed in the way I was feeling, right? But I remember thinking, I didn't do that. Like that was involuntary. Like God gave me another day. I woke up. My eyes opened. I'm here. And I was like, I don't need to be motivated. That's like the first domino. That's momentum. Like that my eyes
Yes.
opened and I'm like, "Oh, I don't start my day with motivation. I start the day because I woke up." And then I remember taking that anxiety in that moment. I was like, this energy that's in me, I'm going to push it down into my legs. And I was like, all I got to do is take this momentum and put 10 toes on the ground. And then this was the first day I'd done this. And I've done this every day for 3 years. Like I stood up and I was like, what else? What's next? Like I'm moving now. And like I have momentum. I screw motivation. So I wouldn't put my clothes on. And then I was like, I got to go see the sun. And I just walked outside and I looked at the sun. And then I was like, I'm still moving. I went and got my car and I drove down to this little redneck gas station about 3 miles down the road. And when I got there, I started looking around, man, and I said, and I live in a very poor area, like right, like this is a very low income kind of county. It's old redneck gas station. There's a bunch of good, hardworking people. You know what I'm saying? Blue collar as it can get. And I saw these people, man, getting out of their cars, and some of them, you know, their clothes were dirty. Some of them looked like they had to be somewhere because they had to work, and like some of them looked tired, and some of them just looked all the humanity, man. And I was like, dang, man, these people are up and moving. Like, if these people, with all the advantages I've gotten, all the shit I've built, why am I not moving like this every morning? And I walked in and I got an energy drink and I went to the gym. And I've done it almost every day since, man. And like, that's that, like, ensuing of it, right? Like going and finding the meaning, like, and the experience. I've got to put myself in the right place to be in the right place, like at the right time, and my whole attitude just completely shifted on motivation, like in that moment. And I was like, this is what life was supposed to be. Even if I'm suffering that day, it doesn't matter.
Absolutely. I love that story because that fits. Shane, you're a hero, man. You're a superhero. And here's why.
Appreciate that. I
It
see
took
that.
me, I had to hear this from a priest, a rabbi, and a podcaster before I ever understood it. Right.
That sounds like the start of a great joke.
Doesn't it really? And it's an even better story. Right. And I heard this several times before it finally clicked. You have the opportunity for a heroic moment, right? Your hero's journey starts the moment you open your eyes. You have the
Mm,
opportunity to look at that alarm clock, look at that phone, and say, man, 5 more minutes, 10 more minutes. Or you can put your feet on the ground and find something that propels you forward, right?
hmm.
Every day we get that opportunity to be a hero and to make that heroic decision. Yeah, I'm going to
Yeah,
do
man.
something with this day, man. And you know, another quick story. You talk about responsibility. That's one of Frankl's favorite words, right? He would tell this story when he came and lectured in the U.S. He said, "You Americans, you have this beautiful Statue of Liberty on the East Coast. You need to balance that with the Statue of Responsibility on the West
Mm,
Coast because freedom without responsibility isn't worthwhile." And I think
wow.
that's a lot of what we experience today. Too much freedom and no idea how to spend it.
Yeah, man, because too much freedom means you can just do whatever you want, say whatever you want, give up. I've got a very good
Yeah.
friend in my life right now. He's like 45 years old, and like he's so capable. And I know this person, and like he's been in the throes of, there were events in his life. These are real. They have influenced how he is, but his stories are just in this abandonment of not responsibility totally, still doing the work, still doing the things, still
Hmm.
checking the boxes, right?
Hmm.
But like it's more like you're a miracle. Like the chances of you even being born, of all combinations of DNA that could be you, are so astronomical it doesn't even make sense in your brain. You have a responsibility to do it your best, like to go to push forward and aim up. Jordan Peterson says that a lot. Aim up.
Hmm.
And like I think that's what people are missing right now
Yeah.
is, and a lot of it though I think is because people just don't feel seen and heard. Like you do have to be witnessed in your grief and your pain. You got to feel it, like
Hmm.
feel it all, man. Like I love anxiety now. Like people they get mad when I say that. They're like, I'm so anxious, and I'm like, good. I
Yeah.
love it because that is so one decision away from enthusiasm. You have no idea how close you are to breaking through.
Mhm.
And it's energy and fuel that like can power you to make some kind of different decision. That's where it goes back to Frankel's attitude. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
And like I've got a question. I've never been able to ask a professional this, and I want to, because I have a theory here that I want to tap back into Adler for just a second.
Okay.
All right, this sounds a little crazy, so bear with me, everybody, just for a minute, okay? One of the things that helped me get to that place of anxiety, good, everything good, the story, good. Now I know it. I can unravel it. I can unpack it. Is in one of his books, he talked about the unreliability of memory, right?
Mhm.
So we're stepping kind of out of like more decision, thought, cognitive here, and more like memory itself. And he did this little, it was a short section, but it really impacted me. He talked about how we know this. You can't go to jail unless two people say the story's true in court because we don't trust one person's memory. And then I was looking up some data on this, and I found that memory, like even Shoot, you can't remember an exact sentence I said 10 minutes ago right now. You can't say quote for quote what I said 10 minutes ago. 2 years ago, your memory is maybe 80% accurate of an event that was there's big T trauma. I'm not saying it like that, but
Right,
like
right.
you remember the event, and it's probably 80% accurate. But if you go back like 20 years, it's like at best the best people on the planet are 20% accurate of the
Right,
actual details of the event.
right.
But the whole freaking therapy industry is based on childhood trauma. Like you know exactly what happened. I'm not discounting anyone's experience here. Events happen, but Adler was like you can't why would you trust the past enough to let it like determine your future? And that really has been something I have held even in my boundaries. I've had some boundaries in my life I've set with people where they've come to me and I'm like, hey, I'm going to set a boundary. We can talk about now, like today, and we can talk about your future, but I'm going to set a boundary on talking about anything from your past because I don't know what happened. You don't know what happened. And we can sit and unpack stories. Like it's never too late to have a good childhood. You want to change that story, we'll do it. But like I can't deal with something that we don't know if it's real. Do you find that in as a professional, someone who's been doing this for 25 years, like is that kind of directionally true that we need to get out of those stories in the past and unpack them a little bit and just move forward?
Yeah, this is where I get kicked off the reservation because I
is
agree
this
with you.
where your colleagues don't agree or
Well,
disappear? Or...
my peers do, many the people close to me do, and many times it's like, oh, there goes Dan going off the rails again. But I agree with a lot with that, Shane. Yeah, we've all look. Come on, if we're here today, we all went through COVID. That was trauma enough, and it was either big T trauma
Wow,
or a lot of little T traumas, right? And we've all had.
totally,
Look, my parents weren't the best. Your parents weren't the best, but I had a good childhood. They just didn't always know what they were doing. We've all had stuff. Not to discount people that have been truly abused and neglected.
totally.
I preach, I prescribe, and I teach resilience.
Yes, sir.
Resilience is taking difficulty, right? And there's a whole science behind it, right? There's 9, 10 different ways to build your resilience, to prepare. Again, I go back to what I said earlier. Life has suffering. We're going to struggle. Life's going to throw us curveballs. You can either cave beneath those curveballs or you can work out that resilience muscle and bounce back better, stronger
Hmm.
from it, man. I love
Yeah,
failure. I love anxiety.
that's
Failure,
why you go to the gym, baby. You muscles
amen.
grow when you rip them apart, dude.
And so does your mind and so does your spirit,
Mm,
right?
yeah,
Anxiety, the only way through anxiety is through it. You
that's
spend a
exactly right.
lifetime going around it and it just keeps coming up. Failure is the universe, is God's way of saying, hey, that was a real good try, but why don't you do it again differently?
Yeah. Now you know what doesn't work. Good job, man. Do it
Exactly.
again, man. You're gonna get stronger next time. Also, too, like you see someone like Frankel. I just think Americans we look for problems, man. Our life is so easy.
Mhm.
Like even with the drama of relationships and conflict and things that we have, like we look for problems, man. Like Frankel's in a he was literally in a concentration camp with people being killed all around him every day. And I've got a friend, and some of her stories public. I'll talk a little bit. Her name is Kathleen King, Dr. Kathleen King. Actually, she was actually a client of mine. I helped her with some of her business stuff a while back, and she built this amazing program. She was a physical therapist. She was really into kind of the stuff we're talking about, and she created this protocol called Primal Trust and built an amazing practice around that, helping people get into their body and figure out how to get where they need to be instead of in their head. And some of the things that she shares in public, like in her book, like she was in a cult, homeless when she was a kid, I think, like abused, like all these things. And I'm like, why? I can't even comprehend that. But this therapist is telling me that my childhood was terrible. Like, what are you talking about? Like, I love what you said a minute ago. My parents didn't do their best, but your parents didn't do the best, but they did their best. That's exactly what they did, just like I'm doing right now. I can't wait to go to a journey with my kids someday and ask them how I screwed them up because I know I'm doing it, even though I'm doing my best, right? And like you just got the resilient word came into my lexicon actually about the same time I was coming out of my depression because I've lived on a philosophy. People ask me how I've succeeded at everything I've done in business. And I'm like, I live and die by three principles. This was up until 2024. consistent, prolific, and relentless. I,
It-
I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but I will show up every day, and you won't eventually. And I won't just show up every week with a good plan and be consistent with my plan. I'm going to be prolific. I'm going to work toward my plan every day until I get the result I want. But then I used to say relentless. Now that came from a place within me, a story that I had told myself that I can be angrier than everyone else and prove them wrong. I think anger literally fueled the first 15 years of my adult life and made me successful, but it also ate me alive inside and made me not trust people. And now I say consistent, prolific, and resilient. I don't care what's going to happen today. I don't know what's going to happen next, but it's not going to be relentless. It's going to be the ability to withstand that suffering and figure out a solution, not the solution, because I don't know the solution until I actually do the solution and see if it works. And resilience, man, when you tap into that, bro, like you don't complain anymore. You stop complaining because you're like, good. Like that's cool. Like something happened. Oh man, I get to be resilient today. What does a resilient Shane Sams look like in this moment? You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Again, to go back to my mentor Frankl, I love this idea. He talked about the tragic triad, right? Pain, guilt, death. We can't
Mm.
escape them, man. We're all going to experience pain. We're all going to suffer in life, right? We're all going to feel guilty. We're going to make other people suffer. We're going to hurt other people and we're going to feel bad for it. And look, Shane, I don't know if everybody knows this, but we're all terminal here, man. You don't get
Oh,
out of
you ain't
this
getting out
game
alive.
alive. There
No,
you
bro.
go.
No, 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 no,
Right?
no, no.
So what do you
There is
do
an
about these things?
expiration date on your head. It's
Absolutely.
coming. Yeah.
So what do you do about it? If you know you're going to suffer, you choose your attitude towards it, man. You make it a story. You achieve through it. If we're all going to suffer, let's do something about it. If we're
Yeah,
going to
man.
hurt other people, if you know you're going to feel guilty, learn how to take responsibility, be accountable, apologize, make
Say you're
amends.
sorry, man. It's
Yeah.
powerful.
And
Yeah,
hey,
man.
if we all know we're going to die, take every chance you get every day and do something meaningful, man.
Yeah,
We get
man.
to make this is crazy. Last time I did the research, 2,000 choices an hour. An hour,
Wow.
man. If you can take half of those and make meaningful decisions out of those, you choose to get off the couch and do something with the kids rather than watch one more Netflix show. You choose the apple instead of the potato chips. All of a sudden, life becomes a lot more meaningful. And you get to do that a couple thousand times a day.
Heck yeah, man. It's unbelievable, dude. Everybody's out there like, oh, I just got to change my mind. No, this takes work. Like, it's not something this is like these things we're saying out loud are what we have discovered through trial and error and pain, you know? And Neil deGrasse Tyson has a cool quote about death. He's like, death is the only thing that gives urgency to life. Like, if you lived forever, you wouldn't do anything. You just lay on a hammock and just look. That's all you would do. But like, when you realize that, you can actually start moving toward it. And I learned about that too. My fear of death and my urgency that death provides me, it actually came from two separate journeys. One was on psilocybin, which we can talk about in a minute, and then one was on ketamine. So let's transition a little bit. I've talked a little bit about this on here, psychedelic assisted therapy. You know, most people when they think about psychedelics, they think of 70s and 60s drug culture. They think of something that's illegal. Hint, hint. They make things illegal for control sometimes, guys, not just because they're bad. And I think I'm seeing there's just so much more in this that's coming out now because some of it is being legalized. I've actually got a bunch of money invested in a psychedelic exchange traded fund that is really hammering psilocybin and MDMA. And we're just waiting for something to get like approved. But psychedelic assisted therapy, as it rises, like it's still controversial in a lot of circles. I've got therapists that don't like it, therapists that do like it. But I think a lot of guys out there have tried everything else and it's not working. And I always tell people when they ask me about psychedelics and what I've done with them, first they're a little surprised that I've actually done them, which is fine. But like the second thing, I say was, what does it feel like? And I always tell them, it feels like a year of real therapy in a night. It
Amen.
really feels like you are guiding yourself from your capital S self in your inner world. Now, there's lots of cool things that happen too, like the bed melts and whatever. But like, there's some cool stuff. Don't get me wrong. But like,
You get to talk to God.
you get to talk to God a little bit. DMT will get you there real quick. You know what I'm saying? That's a hotline. But like, what got you into psychedelic assisted therapy? Because I know you're really big on ketamine, which I am too. That's that is my favorite medicine that's helped me the most. What can you do with psychedelic assisted therapy, ketamine therapy, particularly because it's legal in all 50 states, that traditional therapy cannot? I think it's legal in all 50 states. I'm pretty sure there's clinics everywhere.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
Like you said, Shane, it gets a year of therapy in a couple sessions.
Mm.
Psilocybin, usually one session. That's what the research is telling us. Ketamine, 6 to 8. Those two specifically do a couple very powerful things.
And
First,
psilocybin comes from mushrooms.
from mushrooms, right?
And I believe ketamine was it originally an anesthesia or something like
Yes, it
that?
was a
Yes, that they did with it.
battlefield anesthesia in Vietnam after we started running out of morphine back in World War II. Yeah, we used it as a battlefield anesthetic. And then it was about the early 2000s. Most of us who have had surgery have had ketamine, right?
Hmm.
You go
Yep.
under you go under the knife, they give you ketamine. But it was the early 2000s, people were having surgeries and coming back to their doctor and saying, "Doc, my depression's gone. What did you do? I mean, you operated on my knee, but I feel better mentally, emotionally. Like, what'd you do?" And that's when we started doing research. So we've only been doing research into ketamine and mental health for about 20 years now.
Wow.
What we're starting to
Was it the
realize,
Gulf War? Is that when they were doing that? What was it now? Where did they start
it
using it as
was
a
it was
battle?
surgery. Well, no, Vietnam was when we started
Oh,
using it on the
Vietnam. Okay,
battlefield.
I
Yeah, yeah.
gotcha.
So I
And
mean,
then we
it's been
started doing,
around for 50 years now.
yeah.
And there is a belief that it might be naturally occurring in some bacteria or fungi or somewhere around there. Psilocybin, all
Whoa.
natural. When
Yeah.
in psilocybin, we've been using, Shane, come on, thousands of years,
Yeah.
indigenous
People have been using
cultures.
mushrooms since we were evolving from primates
Right.
on
Well,
the
there's that
Serengeti.
story. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. The stoned apes and all that stuff, maybe.
Right. Right. So both impact different parts of the brain in different ways, powerful ways. The thing I like most about both of them is they increase neuroplasticity. Right. So you get
Mm.
done with these. First of all, the journey is only part of the experience, right? It's for most
Integration
of
is
us,
everything. Yep.
integration is well, as you know, set and setting, preparation, setting some intentions, getting your mind like, look, you can prepare all you want. You can say, I want to get this out of it. I want my mind to go here. The medicine is going to take you where the medicine takes you. That's
Hmm.
why it's helpful to have a guide, somebody have nearby, have a trusted friend or a psychedelic assisted therapist if you so desire. And then afterwards, that's where the magic happens, man, because your brain is in such a open and welcoming space. All of those neural pathways that we have hardwired through repetitive behavior, through having the same thoughts over and over and over again. It's like working on a muscle, right? You do enough curls, your bicep grows. You think the same thoughts over and over again, the same negative thoughts, the same trauma. I've been traumatized. I can't do this. That neural pathway grows. These two
You believe it.
medicines,
It's a
you
story
believe
you
it.
believe. Yeah.
Right. And in your brain, it becomes hardwired there. These two medicines change that. Your brain, I've seen beautiful fMRI scans of the neurons, those little trees that look like our cells in our brain, budding new little branches after you
Wow.
use these medicines. It's so amazing, man. I love it.
Yeah. The different medicines do different things, I find
Mhm.
too. And we call them medicines, guys, because like, anything you see, guys, whenever I see anything on the news, anything on social media, especially with I just say maybe. Like if somebody tells me something's bad, I can't tell you how many times in my life that somebody has told me something was bad and I believed it was bad. And then I experienced something and I was like, wait, the only reason I believed that was bad was because someone told me. Right. It's even with my physical health now, like I love my doctor. If I'm bleeding out, I'm going to the ER. But I am not going to normal doctors anymore for my physical, mental, and spiritual and emotional health because they're just there to keep you alive. You know what I'm saying? Like I went to the doctor, dude. I did my testosterone. It was 385. And I knew I had done the research. I knew what the numbers were. And I knew that was really low. You know what I'm saying? I was like, no wonder I feel like trash. And he was like, oh, Shade, man, that's normal for a 40-year-old guy. And I was like, well, you're confused. You think I want to feel 40. I want, you know what I'm saying? I want my hormones and my peptides leveled out so I can feel like a human. And then I can work on my mental health, spiritual health, and emotional health, like with a healthy body. And I just started doing so much more like conversations with guys like you that are thinking outside the box and going off the rails and trying to find like new solutions. And calling it medicine to me is just a more reverent, respectful term because a lot of these compounds historically through indigenous people, through the Roman Empire, through everything else, that's what they were used for, right? They were
So
medicines to be able to be administered. Can I ask you, can I go down a list of these and see what you think about each one of them real quick?
absolutely.
Okay.
Well, can I clarify something real quick
Go
on the
ahead.
medicines? Let
Yeah,
me
go
offer
ahead.
you this. For those out there listening, I want to add a caveat. Shane, I'm a licensed clinical addictions counselor. I'm
Mm,
also the chairman for the Governor's Commission for a Drug-Free Indiana local coordinating committee of my area, right? So I've been a substance abuse therapist for 25 years. There's a difference between addictive substances, meth, cocaine, alcohol, and
yep.
what we talk about these medicines. They're very, very different. So yeah, and that's another reason why we call them medicines, because they are healing
Yeah.
versus addictive.
Destructive. Have you
Yeah.
ever seen that chart that shows the danger of like all these different compounds? And it's got like everything from alcohol to aspirin to heroin to meth to whatever. And really, the ones I'm about to read to you are at the very bottom of the list of even harmful at all. But the
Yeah,
number one is alcohol. But that thing's
it is.
sold in every bar, every restaurant, everywhere else. I'm not saying I don't have an old fashioned every once in a while, guys. I'm from Kentucky. We need some wood for reserve here and there, just
Mhm.
whatever. But like we put so much stress in these things. I'll be honest with you, man. I'll probably throw the SSRIs up there somewhere into that list. But like just all these different things, but these things are like, no harm, no whatever,
Mhm.
no overdose, no whatever. So let's start at the top. I'm gonna save psilocybin and ketamine for last. Okay.
Okay.
Ibogaine. I've seen a lot of people literally stop smoking, stop drinking. Like
Mhm.
some friends of mine, anecdotal. Ibogaine. What do you think about ibogaine?
Excited. Want
Yeah.
to learn more? Veterans are using it. Some of our most traumatized, harmed veterans come back after a weekend of ibogaine and DMT profoundly changed. There's a lot
Yeah.
of good research behind it. And again, indigenous. It's been used in Africa for thousands of years,
Yeah.
right? And we're talking a place with brutal warfare, right? Like tribal warfare, man. Killing another human being with your bare hands is traumatizing. And yet these
Yeah.
people heal from it with substances like ibogaine. So if it can do that for a war veteran, imagine what it can do for depression or PTSD.
Yeah, man. Even just normal addiction here that we have to the crazy stuff that we do in America, bro. What about Kana? Have you had much research into Kana?
I
Like
have
it's
not.
also African, I think, I believe.
I believe it's a
I've
root.
experienced it. I've experienced it. It is a for a man who cannot feel peace in his
Mhm.
life. That was the first substance that anyone ever gave to me, and I for the first time in years I was like, wow, I forgot what peace feels like, and it
That's
made me
cool.
feel that way. Yeah. What about that? Have you heard about
I
that
don't
one?
know much about Kana. I have heard
Yeah.
positive things, much like your experience in kind of an occasional usage, but I have not studied much about it medicinally.
Yeah, the most famous one that we all hear about in pop culture is ayahuasca,
Mama
grandmother,
Aya.
Mama Aya, baby. Yeah, like for anyone who's curious, like what is ayahuasca? Where does it come from? I know that you've experienced it. I've experienced it. Like I think you've experienced it. I believe you
I have
told me
not.
that.
I have not.
Oh, you have
I'm
not?
not.
Are you? Is that why you're going to Costa Rica?
That's part of it.
Oh, there we go. All right.
Yeah.
I'd say hi to grandmother for me. When you
Yeah.
get-
So
yeah,
Mama
man.
Aya is an Amazonian brew, right? So it's a concoction. I've studied enough. I love the idea. We have enough alcohols around the world. Every interesting alcohol, Jägermeister, Fernet, is some culture's concoction of roots and berries and something. And what they found in the Amazon is you concoct this, and what ayahuasca does is it releases it metabolizes into DMT. And so
Mm-hmm.
you're getting a profound DMT experience. And usually most good ceremonies, a good ayahuasca ceremony is overseen by an ayahuasquero or an ayahuasquera.
Heavily facilitated, heavy because
Yeah.
it's an experience that takes a
Yeah.
long time.
And
Yeah.
you want these are people that have had it passed down family lines again for hundreds, thousands of years. They know what they're doing. They know how to guide you. And yeah, many times, right? The big thing about ayahuasca, and Shane, if you've been there, you know this, the big purge, not just a soul purge or a spirit purge, but a physical purge, getting
Yeah,
all
throwing
those
up.
toxins out. Yeah.
Yeah, man, it's really interesting. I'll give a couple brief stories here as we go. One of the things that medicine helped, I talked about anger earlier. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? And my anger, I think, and I'm not a violent, angry guy. That's not what I'm saying. It was more anger at myself. It was more insecurity. Like, you're a piece of shit. Like, you'll show them. Why don't you go prove it to yourself? You know what I'm saying? It was like the way I talked to myself. And I won't go into this whole experience because it's absolutely crazy. But
Hmm.
like, I had an experience one time with that, and it revealed to me my lack of humility and an arrogance that was driven by my anger. You know what I'm saying? Like, I
I was
can
going
do
to say
anything. I
anger,
can
man.
burn it. Yeah, man. It drove me, and then I was a victim of kind of my own success because I didn't really fail a lot in entrepreneurship in the beginning. We just kept getting better and better and better. So as the anger fueled internally, the arrogance kind of came out more, which created some friction in my most personal relationships.
Sure.
And I did this experience, and I'd always heard about the experience of ayahuasca, grandmother ayahuasca, and grandmother will talk to you, and you'll see this Mayan woman, and this very similar experience for everybody that does this medicine.
Hmm.
And I found myself floating in space, feeling something, and I was like, I'm literally not in my body. I'm just floating in space, and I started getting flippant, and I started getting arrogant, and I started getting angry. Like, you're not who you said you were. I'm just lashing out. And then all of a sudden, I just feel like the whole ripple of space, like a giant foot had put their foot down and rippled over me. And I looked up, and I see this in my mind or wherever this was. Like, I was like, this presence. I don't even know how to describe it.
Hmm.
And I just realized that in the most humble way how small I was in that moment. And I was like, I have made a mistake. I am sorry. Like, I was like, but when I came out of that experience, I felt this new path that was now open to me. This path of, wait a minute, everyone else is proud of you. You're not proud of yourself. Why are you so angry? Like, this is not helping you anymore. And a facilitator in that experience beautifully articulated this to me. She's like, Shane, what's happened is, imagine your inner world is a field of grass, and you have been walking down for 40 something years this jagged path that's hard to get down, and it's the worst possible path through the field. And that experience over to the side of that path has now mowed a straight line. And your choice in this moment is, which path are you going to keep walking down? Because that's the one that's going to stay worn. The other one will grow up over time. And since that moment, 2 years ago, I think, I have just been like, I've got to take this straight path every day. I've got to practice this. I've got to do the work. When I feel that angry part of me, I actually have him named. I call him the general. When I feel him
Hmm.
rising up in injustice, like, I'm like, calm down, get on the bus. We're gonna go the straight path right now, right? So that was one of my ayahuasca experiences, man. It was profound. It just changed me overnight.
I love that, man. And that's, okay. So that's what we call an ego death or an ego
Mm,
dissolution, right? You had a true mystical experience. And we
yeah,
associate mystical experiences, right? And there, again, there's a science behind that we can go into, tests and all that. But a mystical experience is associated with strong, positive, long term change, man. And that's exactly what you just defined. You just correlated with all the science, Shane. Good job.
yeah, man. I've experienced lots of stuff like that actually in the past 5 years, but like, that was one of the most profound things that ever happened. DMT. You talked about DMT. It becomes
Woof.
DMT. I have felt the DMT from that psychedelic experience. I have also inhaled DMT, which is a different level of experience. It only lasts like, it literally, they call it lunch break on the streets, because like, you can literally take it, and you're you're gone.
Gone.
Like, you're not
Out.
on this planet for like
Mhm.
15 minutes, but then when you come back, it's just like me and you sitting here. It's the
Yeah.
craziest experience. What are your thoughts on DMT?
Love it. Not called to it anytime soon.
You
Well, I
better be
hadn't.
ready
You
if
better be.
you are.
Hey, man, Shane, ain't nobody ever ready for that. You
Oh,
can.
no, no,
I don't
no.
care
It's
how
like
much.
jumping into a cold lake. Like, you ain't ready, but you make the decision, and that's the decision, because you ain't coming. You're not getting out of it. It will win every
Shane, it's
time.
like being on Artemis and you're in Florida in a rocket, and all of a sudden, next thing you know, you're on the moon, but you ain't never trained to be an astronaut, man.
That's right, man. That's right. That's right.
Yeah, so my experience was a little while ago, and it's a funny experience. So our shaman, our guide, he wasn't a shaman, had a group of men. We had already journeyed throughout the day. This is going to be kind of the capper, maybe not the best way to do it. Maybe do it later after another journey. And I was feeling called to it, but I didn't, I was a little hesitant. And so I let a couple guys go first, and we did it in three stages, right? You kind of a handshake, a
Yep.
hug, and then a full
Yep.
embrace, right? So these guys go through the three stages: handshake, hug, embrace, and they came out
And
and they're
that's
like,
inhalations is what we're
inhalation.
labeling those things. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Right. It comes as a kind of a powder or a tablet, and then you create a mist out of it. And so I'm like, oh, it's not that bad. I'm in. Let me give it a try. And the guide says, hold on, something ain't right here. And he kind of mixes some stuff up. He changes some things. And then he tries a little bit of it. He lays back and he comes back. He's like, okay. And he does some mad scientist stuff there, Shane. And I was up next. I'm like, okay. I did my handshake. I laid back. I got a little tingly in my sinuses, and it felt great, man. So peaceful. Like, yeah, man, I'm ready for the hug. Let's go. And he mixed it up again. And Shane, I have a bit of a competitive streak. So, I was going to be the best inhaler that ever inhaled anything that was inhaled before, man. He gets it ready.
Oh
And again,
man.
this was in a legal space. And I take a nice big inhale and I kind of fill it, meditatively fill up my lungs and I let it out and I don't know if I laid back or God pushed me back, but I saw stuff, man. Yeah, talk about ego dissolution in 12 minutes. I thought I was going to die. I thought my heart was going to pound out of my chest. The anxiety comes on. I later like I must have hit 210 beats per minute. Checked my watch later, never got above 95. And then my training came in, God came in, my men around me came in. I started taking deep meditative breaths, and man, this chokes me up every time.
Me too, man. Yeah, I'm
And
getting choked up listening to it because I hear these experiences are always profound. You know.
and we had been talking about parents and my relationship with my father, and the need for masculine love, accepting masculine love. And here I have these dudes, not dudes, my brothers around me. And I felt it as I'm thinking I'm dying, as my ego is dissolving. They're all around me, and I could just feel them, man. And I'm
Yeah.
breathing, and I could feel their breath, and I could just feel their love. And
Mm.
as it wore off, I start to get this just beautiful tingly feeling, and I come to, and I kind of sit up with a big old smirk on my face, and I look around, I'm like, yeah, thanks, guys. That was amazing. It was awesome. It was
Yeah, man.
Shane was terrifying. Going in
Oh,
was
it's
terrifying.
terrifying for sure.
The stuff I saw, I'm still trying to recreate in drawings, and it won't work. But I tell you what, that feeling of well-being and acceptance and love,
Oneness. Yeah,
oneness, man,
with everybody around you.
that still comes to me when I get to share that story. It's
That's
beautiful.
beautiful, dude. I wish that everyone that got elected to the U.S. Congress would be forced to take a DMT trip before they move to Washington, and I think we would have a completely different government and
I'm gonna
society.
suggest we start with MDA or MDMA, a little
Yeah,
bit of
yeah, yeah. Let's take them in
psilocybin
easy.
combined.
Let's get them.
Yeah,
Let's get them up the ramp a little bit before you
yeah.
go straight into that. Dude, I was scared to death of it for a while, man, and then and the it was funny because I've never told this story. I might piss some people off with this story, but I'm gonna tell it. I had done DMT, and the first time I ever did it, I was looking for something, man. I was lost. I was like, my life looks so good on paper. I just don't know what I'm missing, right? And I tried to set the intention. My intentions now are just show me what you need to show me. That's all I say.
Right there
I'm,
with you. Yep.
yeah, I'm just whatever, man. Where are we going? And the first time I did it, I felt that peace. I felt that thing. I actually experienced synesthesia where you start like your senses get messed up. Like I was seeing sounds and hearing colors. It was the weirdest. I can't even explain it, but it's a known
It's a real
scientific
thing.
phenomenon. Yeah.
Yeah.
And some people experience it even without medicine. That's just how they live. I was
Mhm.
reading an article one day. So I do this and I was waiting. I was waiting to see something. I expected to see something. And I would close my eyes and it was just black. And I would
Mhm.
open my eyes and it was just the room.
Mhm.
And I would close my eyes and it was just black. But I felt something. I felt like, like I have bad knees from football. I got a shoulder, I got an elbow injury that nags me. All these scars we pick up throughout life. And all of a sudden I felt this like God. It was like presence of God. And it was like acknowledging all of my injuries,
Mm.
but not like saying sorry or healing or whatever. It was just like acknowledgement. And it was like, yeah, that's what happens here. It was just like, yeah, that's what happens. Like that's why we're here. You to feel it all. Like you felt those and you felt joy and yeah, that's and it gave me like more peace about some of the things in my body that weren't working the way they used to. But then like all of a sudden I three times I opened and closed my eyes, Dan, and I said, what am I supposed to see? You're supposed to show me something. And the last time I opened it, I heard this audible voice. I saw my friends and I
Mm.
saw Jocelyn and
Mm.
I thought about my kids. And I heard this audible voice in my head that felt so detached say, dude, everything you're looking for is already right in front of you. And it preposterously changed my outlook on life, and I think it shifted me from a man chasing money and success and glory to someone who stopped and looked around and said, "Whoa, man, I'm walking down a river right now on a trail, and there's a leaf there." Sometimes I'll be driving and I'll look over at like a random limb on a tree, and I'll just think to myself, I may be the only person in the history of the world that will ever actually focus on that limb right now. I saw
Mm.
that, like I witnessed that, and I never could have. I don't know if I ever could have an attitude like that without that experience. You know what I'm saying?
I do, man. You bring a tear to my eye because A, that's the work I get to do all the time, and I love being able
I'm
to
so
have.
jealous. We got to
I
figure out a
know.
way to work together. I got to figure
We'll
out.
do that.
We got to do something, man. We got to get this over to the great men community somehow.
Well,
We
and
got
not only that, but I've had that same experience, man. My last powerful psilocybin journey was in Colorado. I got my hammock strung up between two aspen trees. The mountains are over here, and
Colorado's the motherland to do a journey
right,
too, with the Rocky
right.
Mountains wrapped around you, bro. Oh,
Oh,
come on, dude.
dude. And
Yeah,
and
man.
and you're not gonna get in trouble for it, and you can talk about it, and it's gonna be okay.
Exactly.
Right. And that was one of those things, right? The mushrooms, the universe, God told me, said, "Hey man, what are you worried about? This is all here for you." And Shane, I've probably laughed for an hour, man. I just started giggling and then
Beautiful.
chuckling and then
Mm,
cackling. I was just like, I'm laughing at my own absurdity in the universe and all my little worries when I'm staring at these mountains that have been there forever. And these
mm.
aspen trees and the story of the aspen trees, how the mama aspen tree talks to all the baby aspen trees. And then I saw in the aspen trees, my one daughter was holding me up over here on my hammock, my other daughter over there, and my wife, the big pine tree there. They were all there with me, like, why are you worried so much? We're all okay.
Wow.
It's
It's
amazing.
beautiful, dude. The next one I'm going to ask you about is LSD, which is probably
Hmm.
the most famous psychedelic that's ever. Most people have heard of LSD because it's
Hmm.
trope at this point. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And of course, this one has like I believe it has like the lowest safety profile. Like it's the most safe that
Absolutely.
when they list these things every time. LSD is a different experience because like it's like that moment when they buckle you into a roller coaster and it kind of starts slowly moving out of the station and you're screaming back to them, please let me out, I don't want to do this, but they're not going to let you back out. It's just you're going down. I think that one you have to try a couple times just to understand what it feels like before you can like really get the meaning from it. But I've had some of my most profound work with it, especially for creativity, relationally, like with my spouse, like things like that. Like it's been beautiful. But that was actually where I think the ego death in my life came from the most because like I did this one time and like I was really at the height of just my success and pushing and it was all about me, baby. You know what I'm saying? And what I was accomplishing in the world. And like I was standing outside and I got this really heavy feeling, and I just went outside by myself. And I was in Colorado. I was in Colorado Springs, man, and just looking at it. We were on this mountain, looking out at mountains, and the clouds were just insane. And I was sitting there, and then all of a sudden, this physical storm rolled in, like this dark cloud, and it starts raining. And like, oh man, the set and setting changed, bro.
Yeah.
And I was sitting there, and like I realized my ego was just taking over and running everything in my life. And the facilitator came over to me and so stupid. And she came over to me and started talking to me. And she goes, "What's going on?" And I looked at her and I said, "Do you know I just recorded 100 episodes of a podcast called The Shane Sams Show?" And I'm sitting here thinking I'm running the show. I'm creating reality. I'm living my life. I'm doing this. And I'm looking here right now at this storm rolling in. And I'm like, this ain't my show. This ain't anybody's show. This is our show, right? This is God's show, baby. But that medicine, man, like that was when I didn't have to integrate much. It was just like
Mhm.
that pathway changed. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Have you seen clients that have used LSD or people that you know that have done it, or have you experienced that one?
Unfortunately, no. And
Yeah,
that
that one's
is
hard
one
because they're
I'm
not even
called to.
trying to get it legalized right now. It's just like
But
not even. It's
Colorado is. There are studies
oh
in Colorado, but
okay.
it is harder to come by. I'm more of a historian when it comes to LSD because I think LSD is the poster child for all of these substances and why we lost them. It goes
Mm-hmm.
all the way back to Prohibition and Harry Anslinger. He was big in keeping alcohol off the streets. And when the government said, "Hey, you can have your alcohol back," he was about to lose his job. So he had to find
Mm-hmm.
a bad guy. And so
Mm-hmm.
he found all the bad guys. Marijuana was
Yeah.
one of them, LSD and all
Oh,
these other things.
marijuana was a that was an alcohol lobbied Congress because they were be had they that was a competitor
Yeah,
that was
absolutely.
healthier and better and didn't hurt people as bad. I think it's Theo Vaughn. He goes, I don't know why marijuana was ever illegalized. Like when you drink alcohol, you want to beat your wife, but when you take marijuana, you just want to love everybody and laugh.
Yep.
Right? But it was lobbyists trying to protect an economic source of income through those
Yeah.
beer companies and stuff, man.
Well, and we lost LSD because, well, I'm sure everybody's heard this story, right? It was a beautiful thing in Switzerland. Albert Hoffmann had it created it or remade it. It's naturally occurring in barley and ergot fungus, and he recreated it in the lab in Switzerland. And then at the end of World War II, the US comes in and say, "Hey, we want that. We want to try that," because what's happening after World War II, the Cold War, mind control, the CIA starts using it.
Oh yeah,
There's a lot of great studies on the shenanigans they would do. These guys would go to office parties and start dosing each other.
they give
Guys
it.
would
They don't
ju
tell people. They would just give it to
right,
them, man.
right.
Like
Could you
that's not
imagine going
good.
to a cocktail party? Next thing you know, the walls are melting and all this stuff. You think you're going crazy. People are jumping out of windows. And so I think it was Nixon said, "Oh, this, yeah, we can't have this on the streets." We never really got a chance to study it. And
Yeah,
now,
of
hopefully, it's
course, if
making
you give it to someone random, they're going to do something like they don't know
right.
what's going on. They're freaking
Yeah.
out, man.
Right.
Yeah,
The CIA is paranoid enough, man. That is not the set and setting to be giving somebody a substance like that.
yeah. We'll just touch on this lightly. Like, did you grow up in church or Christian?
Absolutely.
Or, what was your denomination or whatever? Was
Catholic,
it
Catholic Christian, man. So a lot
awesome?
of
'Cause
rules.
yeah, a lot of rules. I was a Protestant. I was a Southern Baptist. You know what I'm saying? Which is
Sure
kind
you
of
were.
like that's kind of like the American Catholic Church, the way it all structured out, basically when it grew. I love my tradition. I love
Mm,
my local church. I'm a Jesus follower, baby. Like that is my core values, man. I mean, I was known as an evangelist for a lot of my career. You know what I'm saying? But it is funny how when you take these things, you start looking at those things differently
mhm.
and you see those things happen. And I'm always interested in how people's beliefs evolve after doing some of these medicines. I'll give you a brief story of mine. It was actually on DMT one night. I've seen some stuff. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's in our mind or if it's something else. Like I don't get into that. That conversation is so useless to me of like what's actually happening with the medicines. Like it doesn't matter. But I was doing DMT and I was like, I've never just like called out to my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. I've never like been like, where's he at? Like I've seen all these other things. Like, where's this dude at? You know what I'm saying? So that was my intention. I was like, Jesus, I want to meet you. Be careful what you wish for, right?
Right. My priest always says, "Be careful what you pray for. You
Be
might get
careful
it."
what you pray for, bro, because they get answered sometimes.
Yep.
And so that's where I was at this point in my life. And I think this was like, dang man, this might have just been about 2 years ago. It wasn't long ago when this happened. So I close my eyes, I do a handshake, a hug, and here we go, right? And I close my eyes, and bro, right before me was the freaking risen Savior. It was like a silhouette of Jesus crown of thorns, and blinding white light, like the glory of heavens behind him, right? Never saw that on Sunday morning, but there he was, like right there, dude. And I was like, whoa, Lord. Yeah, and I was so overwhelmed with love, just the most love I could ever possibly hope to feel. You know what I'm saying? And something crazy happened, dude. Like, so this is here, and it's so beautiful and so peaceful. And then all of a sudden, I see these hands reach up and grab Jesus's shoulder and then grab his outstretched arms. And every time one of these hands appears and it starts pulling Jesus down, the light behind him was getting dimmer and like changing red, right?
Mm, mm,
I've never told this story anywhere. Cannot wait to get the hate mail on this story. But I see this as happening, and I'm like, I'm just observing. I wasn't scared. Nothing was happening. I felt like maybe his presence was keeping me from being afraid of whatever was happening. And at the end, when they pulled him down, I noticed that they were stuffing Jesus into a box and the light was getting dimmer. And then all of a sudden, all these hands shut Jesus in this box, and I could see him still glowing in it, but it was just this red, faint light outside of it. And standing all around that box in this vision was a rabbi, an imam, a Baptist preacher, a Catholic priest. Like all these religious figures were like around this box, slamming him in. And I opened my eyes and I said, guys, how long have I been gone? Because it felt like I watched this for an eternity. And my buddy goes, dude, you blinked. You literally blinked. Like you closed your eyes and opened them, and all this happened.
mm,
And it fundamentally changed the way I view how the world treats the figure of Jesus, the historical Jesus, the Savior Jesus, the everything else. And like I really started taking a hard look at what I had been taught
mm,
and what I had read and these assumptions that were just given to me as dogma and the creed that was hanging up on the wall. And it deepened me as a Jesus follower. It made me want to get Jesus out of that box more than I ever had in my entire life. And my relationship with God and my peace at at what happens after this life. Like all that deepened, but it really shattered some as I started looking into these things, man. It started shattering some of these dogmas and beliefs. And Jesus hated the religious figures. That was the people he was actually fighting the most. And I just wonder, I have not met a single person yet that has not tried any of these medicines and those structures collapse a little bit around them. Not their beliefs, not where they're aiming, but like what they believe. And I'm wondering if that was like a similar journey in your experience growing up Catholic.
totally. And still is, right? I consider myself a conflicted and questioning Catholic. I like that, because that's still tradition and history for me, like going to
Yeah,
church with
totally.
my family and everything.
There is
But
weight to that history that must be
absolutely,
honored. Must be honored.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But and even recently, I was reading some of the deceased Pope Francis, and he said, right, a lot of his writings were with imams, were with rabbis, and I'm going to summarize 200 pages like this. Hey, it's good. Religion, good. Rabbis, good. Imams, good. Just go out there and do good, and quit putting me, quit putting God in a box.
Yeah,
And
man.
I agree with you, man. We're all on this journey together, just trying to find our way home. And the more we help each other do it, the better off we are. But sometimes we stick each other with rules too much. You don't follow my rules, so you're not one of my people. And
Yeah.
that's
I
yeah.
I I have found in my conclusions for myself is love because like I was at church one day after this experience and I was like the pastor was talking about something and I would have disagreed with it before this experience. Like I just would have been something like, I don't know about that. You know what I'm saying? And I looked around and I just looked over at the crowd and I was like, there's like some people nodding, like, yeah, pastor. Some people elbowing their wife going, what's this guy talking about? There's some people were asleep, people were playing on their phone. And in that moment, that's when I realized I was like, oh, every one of us believes something different anyway. We don't all believe the same thing. You know what I'm saying? Nobody believes anything the same thing, but we're here. We're aiming up. We're trying to figure it out. Why do we get so confused over the words that have to be right? And my favorite Bible verse, actually in the whole Bible, is where the guy comes. He doesn't believe who Jesus is, but he's heard he could save his child. So he's
Mhm.
desperate. This is a desperate man that has no answers. And, Jesus tells him, to have faith. And he's like, I don't have faith. Help me overcome my disbelief. He appeals to the divine, not to the Bible and the words, not to the Pharisees or the Sadducees or the priest or the imam or whatever. I don't know about this one, God, but help me figure it out.
Yep.
Right. And
Yep.
I think that takes a little ego death in itself to be able to get to that place with faith, because we don't know what to believe, and someone hands us a rule book and we're like, oh God, maybe this is how we do this. So, and you mentioned ego death earlier, and a lot of men who have done psychedelic therapy work in a good set and setting with professionals, they do describe something that's called an ego death, like the dissolution of the identity they had built up to that point in their life, right? And like, there's a lot of guys out there right now, especially right now in this point in history. AI is coming, pandemic in the back in the rear view, but still affecting us, families, all that. We tie our identities to these achievements and our roles and our reputation, and like any thinking about anything else sounds like terrifying to that. So like, what do you think happens in that moment of ego death, and why is that ego death really where healing can actually start?
Well, I think it goes back to what you said earlier, that God is love. All right. And each one of these substances we've talked about as we down through the list, the stories we shared at the end, what's the end result?
Mm,
Connection and this profound love. And that ego death, right? It shatters, it brings to question all those archetypes, all those beliefs, all those ingrained traditions we had, who we see ourselves as in such a short amount of time, right? And you come out of that with that love, with that peace, with that feeling of well-being, and you can step outside yourself and your beliefs and question it. And the more powerful an experience you have, the more you can question that, it ingrains some lasting change. Some of the science behind it, we talk about these substances kind of turning off the default mode network, the part of our brain that just kind of habituates us through our day, right? Get
mm,
up, brush your teeth, make the coffee, blah, blah, blah. But that default mode network also is the messages we tell ourselves every day. I have to do this, have to achieve that, have to be angry at this, have to flip off the guy in traffic. And when that is shut down for a while, we're open to whatever experience we have, right? Even if
mm,
it's a blink of an eye and seeing Jesus put in a box, I can't be and I can't help but be profoundly changing. And then when you come out of it with good integration, as you said, with somebody helping you for for a little while
oh yeah, we
afterwards.
worked on that one for a while, bro. That was like that was a oh I need
Yeah.
to talk to somebody right now. This is
Yeah.
what is going on, man. Like,
And
yeah,
it's not just talking to somebody, but drawing and writing and listening to music. One of the best
totally,
things,
bro.
oh, dude, if you're listening to music during a journey or in you're in a particular location, when I was in Colorado, I took the music off. I listened to the music of the Aspens, but I go back and I look at pictures of that experience. Oh, it takes me right back there.
Mm,
And sometimes
mm,
if you listen to music during the experience, putting that song back on, oh,
mm-hmm.
take you right back there. It's beautiful to
Yeah,
integrate.
Mike Pedagorski, he's a guy that helped found Mind Bloom. You heard of Mind Bloom
Mhm.
before? At
Nope.
home ketamine therapy. Mike's a great dude. I've had him on another podcast. He's about to be
Mhm.
on this one. We're going to talk a little bit more about it. But that's their protocol is so sweet because they have they brought in composers
Mhm.
and really did like some science on the music, and their at home ketamine protocol was wonderful because the music in those six sessions, it was instrumental. It had some nature sounds and stuff like
Yep.
that, blindfolded, and it was like really beautiful to have the music like laying behind you. And then
Yeah.
when you get out of that experience, it can take you back. Like there are many times when I'm experiencing a feeling that I know I've worked on in one of those sessions. I just throw on that same freaking song. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying?
I love that.
So good. I got a couple more questions for you about a couple other things, but like a lot of guys are listening to this, and maybe they've done the therapy thing, they've done the other things. What do you think the best way guys can go about exploring psychedelic therapy is? Most guys that I talk to, I usually tell them to start with ketamine because it's
Yeah.
the easiest to get. It's available in every state. There's clinics everywhere. It's you can't. I don't really go through the normal medical system though because they want you to. I swear, every doctor that I know tries to get people on SSRIs first.
Yeah.
before they even do ketamine. And I'm like, that is backwards. That is total. I'm not saying SSRIs don't help some people if you're on them and it gives you some kind of at least temporary thing, but it's not a permanent. It doesn't take care of the root cause is the
Right.
problem. But ketamine does. What is the process to finding a therapist like you
Mhm.
or getting involved in one of these clinics where they can start at least researching it and exploring how to get some of these other substances and things like that?
Yeah, so going back to what we said, the important part is the integration. The journey is great, but you want to have somebody to talk with afterwards to kind of reshape thoughts and behaviors. So you've got Mind Bloom. Journey Clinical is the one I use. That's the third party provider. I don't recommend the medical model because a lot of
Yeah.
what that is the nasal inhaled ketamine. And what I'm experiencing is then they put you in a room with a Netflix remote and you just kind of channel surf while you're journeying, and that's not great. There are clinics. I partner with a nurse here who does. There's many ways to receive ketamine, right? So you got nasal spray. Not a fan of that. It doesn't give you as much bioavailability. An intramuscular injection gives you all the bioavailability, but it's got to be
Yeah.
administered by a nurse, right? I can't put needles in you. A therapy now, if you do it that way, cool. Go do it that way. Do a course of 6 or 8 sessions.
Mind Bloom does I've done all of those.
Okay.
And Mind Bloom does a tablet.
That's what I use.
That's what, yeah, it's like 500 milligrams or something
Mhm.
crazy, but you spit it out at a certain
Yeah.
point, so you don't
Yeah.
do it. And
Yeah.
I actually got more work done on that than even than anything else. Like it was crazy because like it just hit right where you needed to be, where you
Exactly.
were anchored just to reality enough where you could stay present. You know?
Where the injections, you are in and you got no control over it. You're going in because that substance is in your veins. With the lozenges, they dissolve in your mouth. You swish, you absorb through your mouth. And if you get to a point, you're like, yeah, I'm right where I need to be, spit it out and it's done. If you
Yeah.
want to keep going, you keep going. I've had some people in my office, they want to go deep, right? So they'll take the full dose, man, and they will go deep, put the headphones on, eye mask, journey, and then we talk about it. There are other people, they want more of a microdose, and they'll
Yeah.
take a little bit, and then they'll say, "All right, let's have a different kind of conversation because you're a little bit more open."
You know the Avengers when Doctor Strange hits Spider-Man and his soul like flies out of his back. You know what I'm talking about? But like he's
It's
back here talking. That is exactly what it feels like. It
yeah,
only lasts like an hour and then you're back. I mean,
yeah,
it's totally normal. But it's
yeah,
the first time I was like, whoa! It
yeah,
feels exactly like that. Like someone punches you in the chest and your soul comes out of your back and your soul can see your body and you're like, what is that guy doing? Why do I keep
yeah.
doing that? You know, it's like crazy
And some of the
that way.
fun things I'll do in my office is we'll record the conversation then because look, hey, I'm still human. I'm going to miss part of it. I say, hey, here's the recording. Go run it through AI if you want to. Talk to the recording, see what you pull
Oh,
out of
that's
that.
genius,
Oh,
man.
I
What a
love
great
it.
use of the tools,
Love
dude.
it.
So
Yeah.
smart, man. How do you like when you got guys coming in? Do you use MBTI, use Myers-Briggs in
Oh,
your
I love the
practice?
MB. I do,
Yeah.
but I try not to label too much. We go back to
Not
that.
to label too much.
Yeah.
I think it's the best one. It's so detailed.
Yeah.
And I don't subscribe to it like it's a freaking horoscope.
No.
But it is uncanny to give you direction when you're directionless.
Yeah.
And as long as you don't be a slave to it, you know what I'm saying? And most people think like personality test, God, they maybe do that in HR or whatever. But like, how do you take a scientific instrument like the Myers-Briggs personality assessment? How does that? How do you use that to supplement the ketamine assisted therapy? Like, does it give you direction? Like, what's the
Yeah.
what's the combination there?
It's more suggestions, right? The MBTI been around for 100 years. We've got a lot of really good research on it. So if you get a good, accurate reading, and again, it's not personality, it's preferences. It's what you
Right.
prefer in life, how you prefer to operate. Just because it says you're an extrovert doesn't mean you can't behave like an introvert. It just takes some energy, right?
Yeah.
So it will help us understand what we prefer to do and be and how we operate in life, what energizes us, and then also what might take energy away from us. And because there's been so much research on it for the past 100 years, we can apply that to conflict, to relationships. You and your partner take the MBTI, man, I love using that to identify hot spots and conflict points in a relationship, and
Oh
then how
yeah.
to correct them, how to have constructive conflict. It's great in business settings. Big fan.
I'm an ENFP and Jocelyn is an INTJ. Hey,
It,
it's been the greatest superpower ever in our business because we are the exact opposite. I'm the star out in pushing the vision.
Mhm.
She's making sure that I actually show up where I'm supposed to be and everything's working in the background. Our family works that way. We just went to like a little meet and greet thing with a bunch of new, like some friends we knew were going to be there, want to meet some new people. And we go in and we're at the door and she stops. She planned the whole thing. I did not even know where we were going until we got there. We get out of the car, right? And
That's such a P thing to say, man.
it's all broke. That's how I am, my soul. And then like she gets like then we get to the door and she goes, "Go," because she calls me her heat shield. But mine's changed actually. Like I've always been an
Mhm.
ENFP, but I've got a J kind of creeping up now as I've
Mhm.
evolved, and I'm like embracing that a little bit,
Mhm.
And but Jocelyn always says that my personality is generally mouth open, vomiting rainbows on all the world, just everyone that will listen. And then she is the engineer in the back, and she threw a helmet over my head, and now she can rainbow laser wherever she wants to aim it. so,
Dude, I love that. Yeah,
it's
some of
so
the
good.
best couples I get to work with are so opposite like that.
Oh
And
yeah,
the thing
man.
is, I mean, I truly believe opposites attract. You see somebody across from you, like, man, she's different than me. I want to get to
Well, they
know
cover your
that.
weaknesses.
And totally.
They
If
cover
you
your
let them,
weaknesses, man.
if you let them, as long as you can have conversation, constructive conflict around those differences, it's a beautiful thing. You guys are making it work. I love hearing that.
We do medicine and for couples therapy too. Like there's about twice a year, Joss and I will go away by ourselves, and
Mhm.
we'll just like you MDMA, go to Colorado,
Yep.
somewhere where it's decriminalized or all this stuff where you don't have to worry about anything. And it's amazing what 50 milligrams of that will do to bring the guard down and get the
Yep.
stories down and have a little empathy for each other for a little while.
Totally
And you
agree.
remember everything. That's another thing that this is not alcohol. Like you remember that feeling of patience and empathy for your partner. It's unreal. All
Yeah,
right,
we
but
call it a heart opener.
it's a heart opener, yes. Or
Yeah.
I think some people like the word empathogen or something like that, or
Yes.
whatever it is. That's the fancy term. But I'm like, I just feel good and love you, man. That's all I think when I'm on. The All right, last question here. You're coming back, bro.
Anytime, man. It's been fun.
we're gonna do a series of this, and like I've got some other guys that I want to get on a call with us too, like who are into the work and really doing it professionally and medically. And this stuff is coming, guys. Like
Mhm.
it's available, it's going to become more and more available. I think the cat's out of the bag. I don't think that if they stop it now, it's clearly because of agenda, because
Yeah.
it's helping too many of our soldiers. It's helping too many couples. It's helping too many people just beat depression, like gone, like it's
Yeah.
over. You know what I'm saying? So it's coming. We'll get back. We'll jam some more. We should just do a whole episode of shit we've seen. On
That's gonna be a couple episodes, man.
That's gonna be a couple episodes, bro, because I got stories, dude. Yeah. All right. So last thing, man, thank you for your expertise, man. I appreciate,
Sure.
the caliber of the education, the training, the real world experience that you bring. I've been waiting to talk more about psychedelics because I wanted you to come on and
Thank
we
you.
had this good anchor for all of that. And, you've been spending 25 years sitting across from men. I would assume that a lot of those moments were the darkest points in their life where they were really struggling, not just with living, but with like life itself. And I'd say a lot of these guys are probably like a lot of these listeners. They're every measure of success. They got the family, they got the house, they got the job. They're holding it together, right? But they're successful and suffering.
Yeah.
Like, what do you believe separates the men who do make meaning and find meaning and get that why back and they come alive again, and the ones that really stay stuck in the stories that they've created?
Yeah. I'm a big believer in the hero's journey, right?
Mm,
It's been in our brains, ingrained in our cultures for thousands of years, right? Every great story we hear, every great movie we see follows this archetype of a broken hero who finds a mentor, slays the dragon, and goes on to live happily ever after, or meaningfully ever after.
usually bringing back the torch, the light to help others. That's usually
Yep.
what happens at the end of that one.
Right? Bringing back the gold, bringing back the light, bringing back the help, sharing with others, being generative and giving. So, where does that start? Right? Going back to that hero's moment. It starts with putting your feet on the ground every morning and choosing meaningfully. And once you get that going, once you build that momentum, the key, I believe, find that mentor that works for
Mm,
you. Right?
good
And
stuff, man.
that, too many people pick a therapist, wind up just being frustrated with the therapist and still go every week. Hey, man, if I'm not the person for you, let's talk about that and let me help you find somebody else. If that mentor isn't working, if you're not growing, it's time to move on, man. Luke Skywalker had Obi-Wan and Yoda and his father, right? We all need a bunch of mentors here, and we need a bunch of other good, great men around us, pushing
Mm.
us, holding us accountable, and making us responsible.
Amen to all that, brother. Amen to all of that, man. I could literally point to my last 5 years and say I found the right mentors. I got good dudes around me, and I spent a lot of time around campfire smoking cigars with those dudes, and other things.
Yep.
So it's good stuff. But damn, man, thank you so much for being on the show today. If anybody wants to reach out to you, I'm sure some guys will be interested when they hear this episode. Maybe there's some people in Indiana. I don't know what that looks like, but like, where can people find you online? I know you put out content and do some things like that for about all this stuff, and I want to highly recommend and point everybody to you. So, how can they get more of Dr. Daniel Franz?
Thanks, Shane. It's really easy. Daniel A. Franz, Franz.com, DANIELA FRANZ.com. That's where all the stuff starts. There's plenty of branches there, like you said, but look me up. Feel free to email me, contact me anyway. I try not to be hard to find.
Great conversation. Thanks for being on the show, man. I appreciate you, dude.
I appreciate you, Shane. Thank you.
All right, guys, that wraps up my conversation with Dr. Daniel Franz. And we were off air there talking a little bit before I recorded this outro. And I realized that he had been on the Flip Lifestyle podcast when we first started. We were helping him with some business stuff. And it's funny how, like, those connections, man, just keep circling back, like, right when you need them most, man. And I hope everybody got some value out of that today, man. You know, there's a lot of stuff in the news about psychedelic assisted therapy. There's a lot of trials that are going on right now at the highest levels of medical science, and a lot of legislation that's going through right now to get these medicines in people's hands. And I want to highly encourage everybody, be curious. Don't listen to the stories that you've heard about these things. Don't be afraid of them or how it's going to move you or change you. That's the point, is so that we can change and we can grow and we can evolve into men who make meaning. It's not enough to just sit back and accept the stories that everybody handed you growing up. It's not enough to just accept the stories that you have been telling yourself if they are not working for you and serving for you and helping you move forward and find that meaning in this one short life that you live. I know that psychedelic assisted therapy changed me forever for the better. My kids notice it. My daughter, today, I was just driving with her. She just got her permit. And I was talking about love or something, man. I don't remember what I was talking about. And she goes, "You say that a lot lately. Like, you've said that a lot in the last couple of years. Like, that's all you talk about is like love and like stuff." And then I remember when I started like really, really paying attention when I needed to apologize to my kids. And that was not how it worked before. It was just like, I'm the dad, you do what I say. And I remember a couple times where I said, you know, something to my son, or I didn't want to say it. And I went in his room and I was like, "I'm sorry. Like, that wasn't the best version of what I'm becoming, and I'm going to do better." And I've seen that spread, like, through my kids, through my friends, through my peer groups, through all these different things. When you really look at yourself and you realize you're responsible, it's your job to make meaning. You get to pick why. You get to choose your purpose. You get to build your calling. None of this stuff is handed to you, given to you, or buried under a rock for you to find. You get to do it. And a great therapist who is more in the vein of a Frankl or an Adler or something that's not so pop psychology, how they're doing things out there, can really help you do that. And then if you need some extra assistance, we have the tools, we have the technology, and we have thousands of years of historical data that says these things can do that. And, you know, one of the big things I love about hanging out with guys on this podcast, and something that Daniel said earlier, was it's a brotherhood. I mean, you know, men in this society are not treated well. We're just not. We're expected to do a lot of things and stay in the box and be on the railroad track and hold up everybody else. But, you know, sometimes somebody's got to be there for you to lean on. And that's what we're building over at greatmen.org. Check out the Great Men Project. I've got a lot of tools, resources, frameworks, timeless ancient wisdom, and all kinds of new things that we're developing right now to help guys get that momentum in your life. Like, how do you get your feet on the ground again? How do you get moving again? How do you move towards something different even when the easy path is still available to you? We also have a Great Men Brotherhood. We got a community over there that is growing. We just had a live meetup last week. We're going to be having meetups every single Tuesday. These are live online where you can come in, hang out, be seen, be heard, see other guys doing the work and trying to build and create great things in their life, try to build that meaning into what they're doing. We got an online forum. It's open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can come in. Maybe a lot of people in your life, even your partner, even your wife, even your spouse, whatever it is, your kids, they don't really see what you're doing, man. That you don't feel seen. You don't feel appreciated. And you're doing it. You're doing all the things that you're supposed to do, but something is just not landing. This is a place for you to be seen, for you to be heard. The first question we ask every single day in the community is, hey, bro, how are you feeling today? Not feeling about your business, not feeling about your marriage, not feeling about your kids, not feeling about the job, all those different things. Like, nah, bro, like, how are you feeling? Like, are you anxious? Are you depressed? Are you barely holding it together? Are you white knuckling life? It's a place to be seen. And we're not here to give advice. We're not here necessarily to have all the answers, right? We don't have those. But if we can be seen, if we can be heard, and if we can ask better questions, the answers will come. And it's a place where you can do that, man. So head over to greatmen.org and check that out. We have a free tier available that gives you unlimited access to everything that we're doing. Brotherhood should never have a barrier of entry. And so you can check that out right now. You can also make sure you listen to this podcast every single week. I've got some great guests coming up talking about all kinds of different topics that men are facing right now in the modern world. Make sure if you're listening to this that you do me a favor. Go subscribe. Make sure you subscribe. That tells the algorithm somebody's listening. Make sure you follow along on whatever app you use for podcast. If you're on Apple Podcasts or Spotify especially, go leave me a 5-star review if you're loving the content. Leave a review what you love about the show. That's going to help other men find the podcast, which is going to be more people joining our community, which means we're going to have even more brotherhood and support for everybody that listens in. Later this year, we're going to be having Great Men gatherings. These are live retreats where we're going to be bringing people together to come in and hang out in space. I want to get a bunch of great men around a campfire and hand out some nice cigars and just see where the conversation takes us. So it's going to be a good time. And I've just got all kinds of things going on. You can check that out over at greatmen.org. If you love to read, I write articles every single week over on Substack. I believe it's substack.shanesams.com, or just go to Substack and type in Shane Sams. I've got over 30,000 subscribers over there right now. And we're talking about a lot of the topics that we talk about right here on the podcast. And if you want to see what I'm doing every day, just hanging out, I've been getting into the old Instagram. I really like Instagram. I'm over there at Shane Sams Creates. So look me up on Instagram. Follow along. We got a lot of great momentum here. This movement of great men is starting to build. And I just want to thank you for being a part of it. That's all the time I got for this week. I'll see you next time on Great Men with Shane Sams.